Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of So What Else? I'm your host, Caitlin Elliott. Today I have a bombshell interview with Amy Duggar King. Okay. Some of you may recognize that last name, Duggar. Okay. You remember years ago on TLC, there was that show, 19 Kids and Counting. It was about the Duggars. They had a million kids. They were this like very, very conservative family where the girls could only wear skirts, like they didn't watch TV, they had minimal technology, they never said a bad word, never raised their voices, like very strict, like with dating, they couldn't hold hands, they couldn't kiss before they were married, like all of this stuff. Well, Amy was the cousin who was featured on the show, and she was known as Crazy Cousin Amy, and we'll talk all about that, okay? So today we have Amy on to share her story, and it's really something. This is not one for little kids to listen to. This is not an appropriate episode for little ears. We do talk about pornography and sexual abuse and things like that. Amy has been through a lot in her family. There's been a ton of just generational trauma and sin that's been passed down. And Amy is committed to breaking those cycles and disrupting those cycles and stopping the lies and stopping the darkness. And that's why she's here today. She's sharing her story and talking about how she's able to maintain her faith, even when people of faith have hurt her in the name of Jesus. And we talk all about that. And it's very, very powerful. I will say, I'm in the midst of a head cold situation. Okay. So bear with me. There's some heavy breathing on my part in here and like nasally things happening. Okay. I'm doing my best. So I apologize if the nasal situation is annoying to you in this episode, but I hope you enjoy this episode with Amy. She was amazing to talk to. I know it's going to be really impactful for you to listen to. So let's just start with okay, your mom, is it Deanna?
Deanna.
Okay, so your mom, Deanna, is
Yes.
Jim Bob Duggar's sister.
Yes.
And it was just the two of them. And they were raised in a home with actually a dad who was not the safest. Tell me a little bit about that, because something that I was very struck with in the book is the generational trauma, the cycle repeating, things like that obviously I don't think the world really knows or understands, right? Like the world knows about the headlines about Josh, and that's kind of the extent of what the world knows, but there's so much more. And so going back to your grandfather, there's a lot of trauma there. Tell us a little bit about that, like the home that your mom and Jim Bob grew up in.
So my mom and Jim Bob grew up in a house full of fear. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of fights breaking out over, probably over really nothing. It's just my grandma tried to control my grandpa. My grandpa didn't want to be controlled. My grandpa had tendencies to act like a child. He was kind of like just a man child that never grew up and never took accountability for anything. And was spoiled rotten, which led to him getting away with all kinds of things. And so if you can imagine that, not even just that, but there was also sexual innuendo, as my grandpa would say to my mom. Definitely made her feel uncomfortable, made her friends feel uncomfortable. Just a life where she had to really watch herself and try to take care of herself. And yet there was still physical violence that took place a lot. Like I said, just a lot of fear because she just never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a lot of cheating, right?
And there was a lot of cheating. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
there was a lot of cheating as well. Yeah. There was a time that my grandpa left for like 6 months, lived with a woman in Fort Smith, which is about an hour away from where we live. And my grandma, I think she coped by acting like it didn't exist and, shoving things underneath the rug and closing that family closet and locking it and acting like everything is fine and perfect when in all reality, she was probably unraveling.
Yeah.
Inside.
Okay. But weirdly, it was like a Christian home. No, like they were like
Weirdly,
Bible
it was a
believing.
Christian home. They were
Okay.
Bible believing. They went to church.
Right.
They were raised to know what's right and wrong,
Mhm.
black and white. And yet the man of the house, the leader
Mhm.
of the home, was a disaster and a
Mhm.
monster, and just said the words and knew the hymns. Oh, I remember him even as a little girl that he would wake up singing hymns and just love Jesus, and yet had a really, really dark side.
Okay, so then understandably, your mom is wanting to get out of that. So she falls in
Yes.
love with your dad from like a young, and they got pregnant.
Yeah.
They weren't
About 22.
married. Okay,
Yeah.
so she's like early 20s. They get
Yeah.
married. It's like they didn't get married.
They didn't get married.
Yeah, so they get pregnant. They have this
Yeah.
explosive relationship.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about an example of how explosive it was? What did your dad say to your mom in the hospital when you were born?
Yeah. So my dad told my mom in the hospital as she's holding me, a little newborn, I should have killed you and the baby when I had the chance. Yeah. Yeah, he was escorted out. It was that was one um abusive thing that he has said over the years, but there's been so many threats that I
Mhm.
honestly can't even keep them straight.
Yeah.
Uh, there was so many. And it was volatile, but she was on that Ferris wheel of emotion
Mhm.
where she couldn't get off of it because, she remembered the good times.
Yeah.
And he, if you ask me, in my opinion, I'll just say that I feel like he just baited her
Sure.
and took her for granted and just used her because he needed to heal from a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like they were in like the very, very stereotypical cycle of abuse where it was like he would like love bomb and change, and he was amazing and he was such a good dad, and then he would be absolutely horrifically horrible, and then it would be another cycle, and then it would be another cycle, and that kind of went on your whole life.
That went on my entire childhood, all the way up until I was about 27.
Phew. And they never got married, or they did get married?
They got married senior year of high school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And that's when things really kind of took a turn, because when they got married at 22, that's when we moved in with him.
Okay.
We did not live in the house with him until then.
Until you were 22. Okay.
Until I was 22. I went in, I lived with him before that.
Uh-huh.
The thing is that I had a really good relationship with my dad, regardless of all
Yeah.
the crap, because we had a really fun banter. He was really funny. He was very charismatic.
Mhm.
He loves like he taught me bird watching and
Yeah.
happy on time and jazz music, and we'd eat these really yummy crab cakes, and we would do all these really amazing things together. But I always thought, which is so crazy that I thought this, but I thought that like there were good days and bad days. And like
Mhm.
the good days were really, really great, but then there's going to be bad days. So you just got to like brace yourself. And that's how I grew up thinking, even as a young adult, that like not every relationship is stable all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because of their volatile relationship, which some examples you also talked about in the book, is that there would be like your mom would be sitting in a chair. He would come in, pull the chair out from under her, and just be like, Deanna, you're so clumsy. And she'd be like, yeah, I am. Like, because it was just, it was that screwed up. And it was just,
it was screwed up. It also like, I remember when he attacked my closet one time and like destroyed it, which is out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Burned necklaces. He's burned clothes. He's broke things.
He would throw all her stuff out on the lawn if she would
He would throw
travel.
things out on the lawn. Yeah. And then it was really crazy because I was the only one that noticed, and the only one that he was already gone to work. And then
Mhm.
my mom was, she was singing in Branson. And so I would just look outside and be like, what do I do here in this
Right.
moment? I was so brokenhearted for her, but a part of me felt like there was already a rain cloud over her life, and I just didn't want to add like a drop of rain to it.
Mm. Yeah.
you know,
So you carried a lot. And then
I carried a lot.
because your dad, your whole childhood, because your mom and your dad had such an explosive relationship and they were
Mhm.
on and they were off and they were on and they were off, there was a
Yeah.
time when your mom was scared of your dad and what he was going to do. So she had your grandparents move in with you,
Right. Yeah.
which
That was
was
before they got married.
okay, which was like good and bad in the sense that you have a you had a wonderful relationship with your grandma, but
I did.
they told you all these weird rules for your
Yeah.
grandpa.
Yeah.
And you just like took them like, oh, okay. What were some of those rules?
Yeah. Well, you have to realize I was like seventh grade when he
Uh-huh.
moved in. About maybe sixth grade when he moved in. So sixth through 10th grade, he like moved in with us.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was told like grandpa can't he can't be alone with you in the backyard. Grandpa can't take you to school. You can't be in a car with grandpa unless someone's with you. You we have to check your door every night just to make sure it's good. I mean, they made it very like my grandma is the one that like really put these rules and enforced them. My mom did too, for sure. But my
Yeah.
mom worked nights. So my grandma is the one that
Right.
was with me a lot of the time. And so she just made it really like, she didn't make it an alarming way. It wasn't like, now lock your door. It wasn't like that. It
Mm-hmm.
was just more of like, hey, this is just what we do. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
You
And
just
so
thought,
she
okay, yeah.
I just thought, okay, like very naive,
Mm-hmm.
innocent girl. And yeah, I never thought a second about it because it's just something that I just grew up always knowing,
Yeah.
I remember even when I was little, I was never alone with my grandpa. I
Mm.
can't remember a single time that I was literally alone with him as far as like where something was possible to happen. It's not happening.
And so obviously that's amazing that they took, precautions to protect you, but
They
kind of
did.
psycho to think about the fact that
Crazy.
they were like, okay, we're pretty sure grandpa's a predator. Like, and he's living in a house with like a teenage girl. So we have to be very, very careful to
Yeah.
never let her be alone with him so that he
Yeah.
doesn't abuse her in some way.
Right. I couldn't do cheerleading in the front, like in the living room. I couldn't tan outside. I couldn't wear bathing suits. If I was like going to a pool party, I'd have to wear like clothes before I got, there's so many rules of, I couldn't play Barbies in front of him, when I was younger. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I had to, if I heard I'm sorry, my grandma told me that if I had to like go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I heard grandpa that don't go out. Like, yeah. So like there were just rules that like I just knew existed, but I didn't know why. And
Mhm.
now it breaks my heart
Yeah.
that back then, I think that generation just didn't talk about abuse. They
Yeah.
didn't talk about how to get help or, divorce was not an option. It
Yeah.
was not an option. You live with that person, regardless of what they do, regardless of what they say, regardless of how they act. And I'm just so glad we don't live in that generation anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, like, when I was reading your book, when I was reading all that stuff, I
Yeah.
just felt like just this stuff alone, not even touching the rest of the story,
Mhm.
this stuff alone is enough to make somebody A, need a lifetime of therapy, B, kind of go crazy, like C, like you name it. Like that's
Yeah.
that's really, really, really heavy. The stuff that you went through with your dad alone, just him
Yeah.
being so all over the place, and his relationship with your mom was so crazy and so volatile, and you were in the middle of it, and you felt like you had to protect her, and you felt like you had to carry that for her, and then all this crazy stuff with your grandparents, and your grandfather was not a safe person, and growing up like that. And yet
Mhm.
also your grandma paid for you to go to this like very prestigious, like private
Yes.
Christian school. So
Yeah.
it was like you were going to this high-end school with all these like rich kids,
Right.
Christian, all the things. And then it's like your home life is very chaotic.
Yes. Yeah, my nervous system was shot at
Yeah.
a very young age. And I didn't know that at the time. I
Yeah.
just knew I lived in chaos and
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was normal. Everyone's life was like that.
Yeah.
As a young girl, you don't talk about things like that,
Right. Yeah.
I had clothes, I had food. There was
Mm-hmm.
no like food insecurity, but I mean, I was so scared, and I remember just crying almost every single night, and
Mm-hmm.
just being like, I know things are going to be different someday. I know they are, and I would just pray out loud.
Mm.
Sometimes I would go, in the backyard. I would sneak out, and I would out of my out of my window. It opened up to the backyard, and I would just crawl out and just sit out there and just be in
Mm.
nature. The trees, the big oak trees, and the big moon and the stars, and I would just be like, man, this is peaceful out here.
Mm.
Yeah,
Ugh. I'm so sorry for what you went through. That's it's so much for a child to carry. And I saw in your book you wrote generational trauma continues when there is an inability to tell the truth. And the truth has always been hidden in our family. And again,
yeah,
I just found that to be so striking with your story because, again, like I said before, I think that people hear Duggar and they think of the show, 19 Kids and Counting, and then they think of the headlines about Josh. And they
yeah,
don't know that there's a lot more there. And what I really appreciated about your book is just the generational trauma, how like this was going on with your grandparents, it was going on with your parents, and it's like this is going, then it was stuff with your uncle, we'll get to, then your cut, it's like this was, it's very unusual. I don't know statistics, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I feel like it's probably unusual for there to just be like one random person who has like this double life. You know what I mean? Like they were perhaps modeled that, they saw that, they were in some kind of environment where things were kept hidden and things were kept quiet and things were not, the truth was not told, thus creating them into being the person that they are. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, my grandpa was never held, like I said, accountable for anything. So he's like, "What else can I get away with?
Yeah.
What else can I do?" And unfortunately, that led to a very just a disaster of a man,
Hmm.
if you will. And then I think because this is just my opinion, but I think because my grandma had needed so much control and my uncle saw so much strife, he needed control in his life. He thought
Yep.
IBLP was a really good idea,
Yep.
wanted to control the environment, keep it safe, keep it safe, keep it safe. And by doing that, I don't think the IBLP teaches anything about sexual education whatsoever.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't protect children whatsoever at all. And I think that I believe that Josh got away with things that he never should have.
Yeah.
And it equals what else can I do?
Hmm. Yeah. I agree. All
I
right. So
also think
let's,
that there's trauma there somewhere.
yes,
Yeah. I mean, that has to, I believe that
I agree
wholeheartedly.
for sure. So let's go there with the Duggars. Okay. So you are living this tumultuous life, chaotic at home, all the things.
Yeah.
And not far, like a mile down the road, are your
Yeah.
cousins. So it's your
Yeah.
mom's
About
brother, Jim
3.
Bob. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
3 miles down the road, it's your mom's brother, Jim Bob, his wife, Michelle, and their 19 kids. And the show is called 19 Kids and Counting. They're the Duggars. They're the perfect family. They're happy. They love each other. They're respectful. No one talks back. They only wear skirts. They don't watch TV. They don't curse. They nothing. Like they don't drink. It's like they're perfect,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So this is going on. And so you kind of like have a foot in both worlds where it's like you spend a ton of time with your cousins in this like la la fairy tale land of like everyone is smiling all the time. And then you go home at night to this tumultuous home life. Now, I know you mentioned IBLP. Explain that really quick for people who don't know what that is.
The IBLP is a cult. There's a actual like leader named Bill Gothard, and he basically promises that if you live under the umbrella of protection, which is your husband, I'm sorry, like the dad of a
Mm-hmm.
family controls the wife and
Mm-hmm.
all the kids, and he's the leader of everything in the family unit. That you will live by God's plan, and you'll be safe, and you'll have security, and it'll be a very blessed life. He also teaches, you can have as many kids as possible, regardless of what your body says. Your husband has control over your body at any time that he would like. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the
Mm-hmm.
abusive tactics that are used in the IBLP system.
So to be clear, IBLP is like an offshoot, like they're Christians. They would consider themselves Christians, but to be clear, this is not, it's someone who took Christianity and like really
And twisted it.
twisted it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is like a small sect of Christianity that believes what Christians believe, obviously, in terms of like Jesus being the Son of God and dying on the cross for our sins. But there's all this other stuff that Bill Gothard just kind of made up.
Yeah, it's stuff that's not in the Bible. You cannot find it in the Bible anywhere. And yet he teaches like there's life principles. And he like sells curriculum, and there's homeschooling curriculum, and there's all these different booklets, and it's rules upon rules upon rules, and they really contradict themselves.
Okay. So your cousins were growing up in the IBLP, what like denomination, I guess, or whatever word.
Yeah, I mean, it's just called the Institute of Basic Life Principles. So they love Jesus, but their rules were just extremely confusing, and extreme.
Now, you were not at home. You were not part of the Institute of Basic Life Principles.
I was not a part of it. No.
Okay. And so Jim Bob found it at some point. And like you said, because his upbringing was so tumultuous, he was probably really drawn to this like highly structured, like lots of rules, very like the man is the leader, like you will be a strong leader, like your wife and kids will fall in line. He's probably really drawn to that because, as you described, his childhood was chaotic and crazy. So he was grasping for something. Fine. So they start filming this show and you're not on it. And you're like, that's cute. Like they're doing a show, you know? How did you find yourself on the show?
Okay, so this is crazy. I literally was just going to pick up my grandma one day. And my grandma is one of these people, or used to be one of these people that she definitely, when she has something in her mind, like that's just how it's going to be. Very stubborn, very her way or the highway. And they were filming. I remember punching in the gate code and seeing all the trailers, all the cameras, all the things. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're filming. I'm not going inside. And my grandma lived with my cousins at that time. So I had to go inside the house to get her and to let her know that I was here because she wasn't gonna come out. Anyway, so I call her and she's like, no, come on inside. Just come inside. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm coming inside. So I walk in and everybody is on the couch and they're all listening to my uncle intently, you know, listening to their dad. And I'm tiptoeing around the room because grandma's room was like on the other side of the big living room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in distressed jeans. I got a graphic tee. Like I'm just going to be me, you know? Yeah. And they're all kind of like looking at me and I'm like, hi, like not trying to make a big deal. You're filming, you know, I'm not here. And my uncle is pulling names out of a hat. Who wants to be Joshua's chaperone? Joshua and Anna's chaperone.
Now pause right there. How old are they? Why do they need a chaperone?
Yeah. So IVLP believes that a chaperone should be given to anyone that is engaged in order to help them, like, you know, purify themselves and sustain from sexual temptation.
Okay.
But they're like, I forgot how old he is now, 20, 21. Like they're an adult. They're adults.
Yeah.
And so my uncle, I don't even know. Well, so he says, who wants to be the chaperone? And I go, like, I just sort of laugh a little bit.
Snicker. Yeah.
A little bit. I just could not get it. I don't get it. I never will. And so he, the producer noticed that that's what I did. And he came over to me and was like, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Don't mind me. I'm just getting over here to grandma. And he was like, would you like to be the chaperone for Josh and Anna? And I was like, no offense. No, Captain out like they're adults. They don't need a chaperone. And he was like, you could see his eyes just like get so big. And he was
Mhm.
like, oh yes, this is what we've been waiting for,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
a little spark for the
a
show.
little rock the boatness. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And so he was like, why don't you jump on camera? And I was like, what? No. And he was like, no, yeah, come on camera, come on camera. And I was like, well, let me tell my grandma. So I just went and said, like, hey, I'm gonna be on camera. And she's like, oh, goody. And I was like, oh my goodness, because you know what she was doing. I knew exactly what she was doing. And then that's how I became a character on the show.
Now, you got the nickname. You weren't just Cousin Amy, you were Crazy Cousin Amy.
I was crazy cousin Amy. Yeah.
Now, let me be honest. As of like, I wasn't like a super fan, but as a passive watcher of the show,
Mhm.
when I heard Crazy Cousin Amy, I kind of assumed like you were like so rebellious, like totally out there, like don't believe anything that they believe, like you drink, you party, you this, you that. Come to find out, like you're quote unquote crazy because like you wear pants and not skirts. Like you're like, I go to a strict private Christian school. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like off the deep end by any definition of that term. Like
Yeah,
I
no,
literally
I was
just like
in
wear
my
pants.
20s at this point. I was in my 20s. And so, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I was like, I don't know, 20. At one point, I was 21. Yes, I went
Okay.
out. I had a couple of
Sure.
drinks, sure. But like, I handle myself with,
Mm.
I've never had like a police record. I've never had a one night stand. I've never
Right.
done drugs. I honestly was a church leader, a youth leader at our church while we were filming. And I didn't understand my title to be crazy either. Yeah, it blows my mind that that's that me. I'm
Yeah.
the crazy one, you
But
know?
you were brought on the show basically to show a contrast to the Duggars because they were so sheltered and meek and mild and
Very
you're like
quiet, soft
sarcastic
spoken.
and yeah, and you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
funny and
have a little bit,
loud.
I'm like a rattlesnake.
Sure.
I can kind of, I don't know. I'm just me. I would say what's the word I'm looking for? We're just really different personalities. We'll just
Sure.
say that. Very,
Totally.
very, very different. They weren't allowed to like have inside jokes or to laugh or like, I mean, not to laugh. That sounds terrible. They were allowed to laugh, but it had to be like poised, very
Yes. And
poised
no
and put
no like
together.
sarcasm
No
or anything like that. Like
sarcasm, no
everything's
dry humor.
right.
Yeah,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So there's some interesting things about the whole reality TV thing because there's aspects of it that are real. Like you even said in your
Yeah.
book that like they really were a sweet family. Like
Yeah.
it's not like cameras would go down and people would be cursing at each other. Like that
Right.
never happened. Like they genuinely were like that.
Yeah.
They were sweet, they were a precious family, they were respectful, they were kind to each other, they weren't fighting, no one was pushing, the boys weren't punching each other, the
They had
girls
really
weren't
good hearts. I
right.
mean, they would help people. They would help the elderly. I mean, they did so many things for our community. And yeah, they had a true kind heart.
I remember actually like never really watching the show and then one time I was on a plane and it was on and like I ended up watching it for an entire flight. And I remember getting off and saying to like I guess maybe Scott and I were dating at the time, whatever. And he was like, what were you watching? And I was like, I was actually watching 19 Kids and Counting the whole time. And I was like, and I have to say, there's things about it that are corny. I was like, but like, you do feel good watching it because they're so lovely. I was like, the people, like, you almost don't believe that people like this really do exist, that they really are so, so pure and so kind and so wonderful. I was like, it does make you feel good watching it because you feel like, oh, this is so nice. Like, they're so
Yeah.
nice.
I was the same way, girl. I would go over to their house and be like, oh my word, this is like such a breath of fresh air for me.
Yeah.
Everyone was so kind and fun. And I mean, there was like smells of like
Right.
baked bread and like people were playing chess and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
playing
yeah.
outside and like no arguments, no nothing. It was really like black and white days.
So
Yeah.
interesting.
And
But
it's still
then,
that way. Well, I mean,
yeah,
I would assume. I would
right,
assume.
right.
Yeah.
But then there were parts of the reality, quote unquote, reality show that were very fake. So, like, for example, they like wanted to film you like getting a record deal or something. And like they had you sing and they were like, that sounds too good. They basically wanted you to mess it up so that the episode could be about you struggling or something.
Messing
Can
up.
you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so the show had been going on for a while and it was the most popular show on TLC, number one on every rating.
Man.
And so I was asked to have a special. And I remember they asked me, what do you like to do? And here I am in my 20s and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I like to sing. I like to do this. Like, oh, you like to sing? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, all right, we'll get back to you. And they came back and they're like, how about we do a Nashville thing where, because I did love to sing at one time. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And they're like, we're going to like show what it's like to make it in Nashville. And I was like, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So I went, I was in Nashville for like 3 months at a time. I lived in a hotel, right there on the strip, like really close to the strip. And, yeah, that was like Nashville was my second home for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then they had you go and you were like you like sang for people or
Yeah.
something.
I sang for like a huge label.
Ugh.
And yeah, first off, I sang like at an open mic, at
Okay.
like this restaurant, like this really big restaurant, very well known. And I did the whole song exactly
Mhm.
the way I was supposed to, all the things. And yeah, one of the producers was like, hey, listen, this is looking too good. We need you to mess up. Like, just forget your words. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we need you to do it over and like act worried, act nervous, act like you don't know what to do, fiddle with your hands. So they kind of like coached you on the
Sure.
things like of what they wanted it to be like. And I remember that episode perfectly when I'm like, I know the words in my head, and
Mhm.
I was so mad that I had to like just act like I was an idiot,
Yeah, of
but I
course.
know how to stand up for myself. I didn't know how to be like, no, that's not how this is going to go.
Yeah,
I was a people pleaser back then. And I didn't want to cause any trouble because I was already crazy, in their eyes.
right.
And so, I just remember being like, okay, I'll do it. And I remember that episode so vividly.
Mm, that's hard. And
Yeah.
a major part of this that we haven't mentioned yet is so you said you kind of came on when you were in your early 20s, right? A lot of the kids were tiny little babies, but a lot of them were also right around kind of your age. So adults, like late teens, early whatever.
Yeah.
But nobody was actually getting a paycheck other than Jim Bob, which is odd because you're all adults and you're showing up at call times and working. Can you explain the whole lack of a paycheck thing?
Uh, I mean, that is, man, if you want to take away someone's like integrity and take away the hard work that every single one of us did, I mean, hours. We had 8-hour interview days. There were
Oh,
times that we didn't have, I mean, we would literally like have breakfast. It was all catered. We'd have a break from lunch, but the rest of the time we were sitting in a chair in a studio talking nonstop. And that was I would say every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, so that we did that.
wow.
Continuity, you had to wear the same clothes. If I,
Yeah. Right.
you had to look the exact same. It was absolutely wild at the fact that he did not think or that we deserved any kind of compensation at all.
And no one ever said anything, right? Like, so like Josh or any of the other older
No one,
ones were never like,
no
hey, can
one,
this like be my job?
no
No one said
one.
anything.
First off, it was when reality TV was kind of newish, right?
Okay.
And it was like, okay, and I'm gonna be really honest, we all trusted Uncle Jim Bob. We all
Yeah.
trusted the kids. They learned at a very young age with the IBLP, you're not allowed to really share emotions
Mm-hmm.
unless they are godly. So you
Mm,
can't ask questions and you can't question authority, is what they
mm-hmm.
were told. You
Yeah.
cannot question authority. So, as you know, You can't question it. So you can't, even if you did have a question in your mind, you're not allowed to say it out loud because that's considered rebellion. You're having a heart issue. That's a heart issue.
Right.
And so, I mean, none of us ever did.
It's interesting.
It blows my mind that we were all kind of blinded by the fact that like, oh, Uncle Jim Bob, like for me, Uncle Jim Bob loves me. He's gonna take care of me. You know, he's known me my whole life. How could I not trust him?
Yeah. Okay. So you're on the show. It's a perfect family. You love them. You trust Uncle Jim Bob, all the things.
Yeah. Very naive. I was very naive.
Yeah. Understandably.
Yeah.
The first time you ever thought there might be more here was when your dad bought a computer from your cousin Josh, who, for people who don't know, he was like the oldest boy or the oldest. He's the oldest.
I'm the oldest, and then Josh is right underneath me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was like getting rid of a computer. He was like a tech guy. Your dad bought a computer from him. It's at your house. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we had a computer. We got it. It's a brand new MacBook, one of the big ones. The
nice.
big. And I was like, ooh, this is so cool.
Fancy.
We had it in the kitchen. And like, you know, they have a little like desk outside the kitchen. That's where it was at. And everyone was gone, but my mom was gone. My dad was gone. I was like, I'm just going to learn this whole thing. Yeah. And I went down to the menu button at the very like left-hand side, and I scrolled up, and it said Josh's files. And I was like, oh, I guess he forgot to delete this. So I clicked on it. Girl, I could not tell you. And I'm making sure my child is like upstairs because I don't want him to hear this. But I cannot tell you the amount of pornography that was on there. And it was like, is anyone else seeing this? Or is it just me? Like I was the one at home, you know? Yeah. But I was like, oh my gosh, like this person who I've known my entire life looks like he has a really big issue. He has like a really big problem.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like, in a way, I'll be honest with you. In a way, I was like, well, thank God he's normal. Like, you know what I mean?
Of course. That's human.
Like girl. Like, he, you know, like this is, I mean, it's not normal. Don't get me wrong. I don't really condone it. However, but at the time I was, you know, he didn't ever show interest in anything. And so I was just like, okay, so he does have like feelings, and he you know, he is tempted. Okay. He's human.
Totally.
He never made any mistake at all. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this information? What am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
So I showed my mom, and she was like, oh my gosh. She was sickened by it. And she was like, we've got to call my brother. And we did. And, you know, it started out with my mom talking to him, being like, hey, Jim Bob, we need to talk to you about some things that we found. And he was like, what? I don't think so. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, kind of stuff. And then he was like, hey, Deanna, can I talk to Amy just privately? And I was like, you know, so he thought that we just handed the phone to me, but I put it on speaker for my mom to hear. And he was like, Amy, you're mistaken. There's nothing that you saw. There's no, my son does not have a problem. And I said, well, if that's the case, basically, you know, why is this Josh's name on the file? And he's like, oh, my son got that from a pawn shop. It could be any Josh.
Right. Yeah. And the chances that he bought it from a Josh are
and
really,
he was just like, don't tell anyone about this. And that's how he talks, by the way. It's how I'm doing it.
I love it.
And he was like, yeah, I don't know, but sorry you saw that. And there's no truth to it. My son wouldn't do that.
Okay. So that was it. So it was just kind of like, nope.
Dismissed. Yeah. And in that moment, I was just like,
well, what else are you supposed to do?
Right, because it's not a crime,
Exactly. It's not illegal to have porn
not
on your
illegal.
computer.
There
So what are
was
you going to do?
nothing,
Yeah.
right. There was nothing that I could do other than tell his dad, nothing else.
Right.
Um, so life went on.
And then how long later was it until the first scandal broke?
Um, Probably about a year after.
Okay. And so you were at a store, you're waiting to check out, you look over, you see a magazine that features the house. Your cousin's house is on the front of it. And the
Yeah.
title is House of Horrors.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, what?
I was
No,
like,
because up until this point, this was like America's Sweetheart Family.
right,
So you
right.
read the story, and what's the story?
That there was sexual misconduct toward the sisters from Josh.
And did you believe it? When you were reading it, were you like, this is not right? This isn't correct?
I didn't believe it. I really
Mhm.
didn't. I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, another headline, but this one's real bad.
Yeah.
Dang. But I
Yeah.
sat there and I did have tears in my eyes because I was just like, could this be true? What if this
Right.
is true? Da-da-da,
Right.
da-da-da, da-da-da. And so my mind was just racing like 100 miles an hour, you
Or
know?
even if it's not
Um,
true, how horrible that this is now put out there that people would
right,
believe it if it's not true. Like it's upsetting no
right.
matter what.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and so we called my uncle again.
Mhm.
I talked to my mom, talked to my grandma. My grandma had a whole different story. My mom had no idea about nothing. And we called my uncle and he said, oh, there's no truth to this story. Sometimes headlines, don't make sense and they just picked our house randomly. Our family is under attack, because of the goodness that we share, with
Right.
the world, and just don't talk to anyone about it. Let it blow over. It's going to be fine. So I literally said to him, I'm so sorry for what the family is going through.
Hmm.
You know, I hate that for you guys. We love you and we'll talk
Hmm.
later. It's like, okay. Um, yeah.
And then how did you find out that he was lying and it was all true?
It was on the news. It was on I was actually doing my wedding dress fitting that day, and we're all sitting on the couch and having just a really fun time. And my mom got a text, said, turn on the news right now. And we were like, what the heck? And so we turned it on and it's on every channel. It's on every channel. And
Mm.
we just sat there crying. We just sat there crying. I held my mom, she held me. My grandma was crying. We all were just crying. Yeah.
So the story was that he had sexually abused four of the sisters and one non-family member, which I think the whole world assumed was you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm right. The whole world, I think, was like, oh, that must be the
Everyone thought
cousin.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it wasn't. 100% was not me. Um, Abusers know who are going to speak up and who's going to tattletale on them and who's
Hmm.
going to get them under fire. And he knew
Yeah.
what kind of personality I had.
So you actually went there that day. Was it that
Not
day?
that day. Wasn't
Okay.
that day. No. It was a couple of days went by.
Okay.
No one could give me a straight answer for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not like no one. I was like, who were the girls?
Mm-hmm.
How long has this been going on? Like, when did this start happening? Like, is Joshua, like, what is going on? Everyone was like, oh, Amy, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. And I am one of these people that is like, I grew up with this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I am now like, I'm not just an outsider. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys. I know the code. I know what time you go to sleep. I know what's in your refrigerator. Like, I
Yeah.
know you guys. And so I was like, the hell with this,
Yeah.
and I drove out there. Just like a bat out of hell. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest. And I was like, I'm gonna get some answers,
Yeah.
because the answers that I'm receiving are there's no weight to it.
Yeah.
There's no truth to what is being told. And I've got discernment. And now, which is interesting that I think God's given it to me now. But like even back then, I was like, something is so off. And I felt it over and over and over. And I felt it even before magazines came out. I felt there was something about it that I was like, this is so happy. Everyone is just so happy. Like, man, like, is this really how it really is? You know? And so I even told my mentor, the one that I talk about in my book, that I did. I for years I said, man, something's off. Something's off. I feel it. I feel it. And she's like, just I don't know what it is, but if it is something, it'll come to light. And boy, did the light
did
ever
it.
shine. Did it ever.
So you went out there, you found him like in an RV, and he was married. So were him and his wife were like hiding essentially in an RV from like paparazzi or like?
I think they just needed some space away from the sisters, away from the family. And I think they were hiding definitely from, there was photographers, there was all kinds of people driving by and trying to get whatever they could. Yeah.
So you barge in there.
Yeah.
Tell us about that interaction with him.
Yeah, I barge in and I just, I sit across from him and Anna's holding his hand. And I just said like, hi, Anna. It's good to see you. And I looked directly at Josh. Before that, I comforted the cousin girls. I went over there and gave them big hugs and just loved on them for a little bit. And then I went to see Josh. And I sat right across from him and I looked at him. I looked him dead in the eye and he looked down immediately. And I asked him several questions and I was just like, like, who are you? How long has this been going on? What made you do this? All the questions, just all the questions. And I finally lost my ever loving mind because he wasn't responding. He was ignoring and looking down at his feet and not saying anything. And this is not the Josh I grew up with. It was just not. And I said, how come you never tried anything with me? And screaming at the top of my lungs. And he responded, took forever for him to respond. And when he did, he literally said, I knew better. What do you do with that kind of information?
Right.
What do you do? Things were escalating. I was screaming at this time. They've never even heard me raise my voice or say, oh my gosh, before. So the fact that I am screaming and losing my ever loving mind just shows how severe of a situation it was. And my uncle came in. I don't know if he heard me from outside. I don't know but he heard me or he might've heard me, but he came in and was like, now, Amy, let's not escalate the problem and, all the things and let's have better attitudes.
Okay.
Right. I was just like, golly, like I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it. I stormed out of there.
So, all right. So then the show got like put on pause kind of, and it was like
put on pause. There was he cheated on Anna.
So then there was that Ashley Madison thing.
Ashley Madison came out.
It was that website. For people who don't know, Ashley Madison was like this website where like it was for married people to go on to seek affairs. And then they had this huge data breach. So stupid. Oh, so disgusting.
So disgusting.
So gross. And there was like a lot of celebrities. So basically then like there was a data breach. They released the name of anyone who had ever like had an account with them. And I remember there was like celebrities like, like Real Housewives, their husbands and stupidity. But a name that stuck out to everyone was obviously Josh Duggar because hello, not only was he from the 19 Kids and Counting show and like they're perfect and Christians and he was also the head of the family board of
council. Something kind of council, like faith council.
And it was all about like conservative family values. And now it's like, oh, you have not one account, but two accounts with
and you use grandma's address.
Yeah, gross. So then he had to come out and make a statement about that. And he was basically, and it was a great statement. He was like, I'm a hypocrite. I'm terrible. I'm sorry to my wife. I'm sorry to my children. Like, I'm going to change. Like, falling on the sword, like all the things. Then the show got permanently canceled because it was just like, this is a sinking ship. Like, obviously, what are we going to do with this?
What are we going to do with it? Yeah.
And then everyone just kind of went on with their lives. Well, they had the spinoff show.
They had the spinoff show. That took a minute to get, but yes, they had a spinoff show. I was not asked to be a part of it. I wasn't going to be. When I left the house that day after confronting Josh, I knew that was probably the last time I was ever going to be there.
Right.
And I was just like, this is absolute bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any part to do with this. And yeah. So the show, that was their thing and that whatever. But yeah, it was weird. Everyone forgave Josh. Everyone quickly forgave Josh. And I was like, man, why am I harboring this when even the wife is forgiving Josh?
Totally.
7 years went by and there was nothing, not one thing going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, man, like, why am I so like, why can't I forgive? Mm-hmm. So I did. Mm-hmm. And when I did, I invited it back into my life.
Mm.
And that is and you know, I don't know. I just did. Mm-hmm. It was just one of the things where everyone was like, let's be a happy family. Family is forever. You know, we love you. We miss you, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay.
So everyone's kind of going on. They're doing the spinoff show. You know, everyone forgives Josh. He's a changed person, blah, blah, blah. Life is happening. And then Homeland Security shows up at your house.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, we were hearing some chatter that Homeland Security stopped by the car lot. Someone took a picture of it.
Where Josh worked.
Where Josh worked.
Okay.
Josh owned the business.
Okay.
And we called Uncle Jim Bob and we said, hey,
right.
So what is this about? Why is there a black RV, huge suburban thing, you know, and what's going on? Mm-hmm. That doesn't look good. That is not a good sign. And he was like, oh, everything's fine. No big deal. Just don't talk to the media about it. There's no truth to any story. Just our family's going through it again. And I thought, oh, I've heard this song and dance before. I have heard this before. We said, if you would please give us a heads up. You didn't last time. It broke our hearts. You please would just be respectful. Just let us know if something is going on. We'd really appreciate it. He was like, no problem. And we hung up the phone. And then I took a shower. I had a newborn. Daxie was a couple months old at this point, and I took a shower because he finally went to sleep. And I was like, oh, thank God I could take a shower. I was maybe in there for 5 minutes, and my mom came rushing in there, freaking out. And I was like, what is going on? And she was right now, like banging on the door. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And sure enough, there were 2 men in my doorway, entryway, asking to speak to me because they are Homeland Security.
And what did they need to find out from you?
And it's wild to me. They asked me about a computer that my dad bought from Josh years and years ago, to ask if there were any children on it.
And so you told them, yes, I found pornography. No, I didn't see anything with children.
Correct.
How did they know about that computer and all that?
Jill told them.
Oh, okay. One of the sisters.
Homeland Security went to Jill's house to ask her questions. And they made their rounds with the Duggars. Let me tell you, they went around.
Yeah.
And yeah. So she said, I do know of this story. And she knew about it.
Mm-hmm. And so they denied it for a long time. Like Josh said, I'm innocent of this. Like I did not download. Basically, well, he was arrested for containing thousands of files of child pornography, correct?
Like child abuse material.
And so they denied it though. Josh was like, it wasn't me, it was somebody else. His parents were like, it wasn't him. Like this was planted. He was set up. Like it was all this denial, denial, denial. Never owned up to it. He ended up getting convicted and he's away for what? 30 years?
Like 12.
Oh my gosh. That's it. Well, that's still long, but
not as long as it should have been.
12 years. Okay. Now, does he still maintain his innocence? Is he still saying from prison, like, I didn't do this, like, I've been wrongfully convicted, or no?
I have no idea. I haven't spoken to him and I don't pay attention. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's still on the whole, like, get me out of here. I shouldn't be in here.
Does the family think that he is innocent or guilty?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Interesting. Okay. So the thing that I think I was the most struck by in your story is like there's a lot of terrible stuff. Like this is terrible. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your cousin, like all these men that are Bible believing, you know, Christian, supposedly, you know, men. And they're doing terrible things.
In the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus. And so for someone like you, what has made you stay? Because you are still a Christian and you still love Jesus and you believe in Jesus, even though all of this crap has gone on around you.
Right.
What has made you stay?
I believe that God is not the author of confusion. And I lived in confusion and strife and just, oh my word, I cannot even tell you just how my life felt like a tornado all of my childhood. And I know that even back then, God wanted better for me. And now I'm literally living in a prayer. I'm living in an answered prayer.
Yeah.
I know that God is a God that is not full of chaos. And he wants peace in our life in every aspect of it. And those people that are going to use his name and then turn their eye and do something else and do terrible, terrible things in the name of him, if you ask my opinion, truly aren't saved. There are people that are completely conflicted. They might, you know, even the demons and the devil knows scripture in and out. You know, they could
absolutely.
But that does not mean that they have it harboring in their heart. They don't have him. Because here's the thing, when you are a Christian and you invite Jesus into your heart, he changes every aspect of every part of your life is changed. The music you listen to, the podcast, the movies, you know, who you're around, what you allow. He changes your entire being and he makes you new and he makes you better. So the fact that there's so much ugliness and evilness still involved just shows how far away from God they really are, in my opinion.
I really think that you're an inspiration. I'm going to be honest, because I think that there are so many people that have been through things, legitimate things like family trauma or church hurt or whatever, emotional abuse, physical things happen to people. And it makes them feel like, okay, well, obviously God's not real. Obviously my faith isn't real. I'm going to walk away. And that is it's so hard to swallow. It's so sad because somebody was at a church, say, where they experienced church hurt, the person who hurt them, you know, was maybe doing things in the name of Jesus, but that's not Jesus.
That's not Jesus. That's not the real God that we serve and that who loves us. And I feel like the people that invite, like I said, the people that invite him into your life, peace be still, that Bible verse, Mark 4. You know, I have a tattoo that says rest in the storm right here. And it's true. He does want us to rest in the storm because he has us. And regardless of what we've been through, our story can help someone. Maybe that's the reason why there was so much chaos in my life right now, is because God knew years later there was going to be thousands of messages come my way that are going to be uplifting and be like, I needed this book. I needed these words. It has helped me so much see the truth. You know?
Why did you want to share your story?
Oh, I wanted to share my story because I've always felt alone. I've always felt like no one really understood me. I was unfairly labeled. I had a lot of question marks on who I was. I didn't really even know who I was back then. And I wrote it for the person that's struggling and hurting in their life right now, that they don't have to believe what they've been told, you know, by other people, and that God sees them and they can work through their pain to help other people.
I love that. What does it mean to be a holy disruptor?
Oh, I love that question. Holy disruptor is someone who can look evil right in the face, and say, really look at the people around you. And if they do things in the name of Jesus, but the things that they're doing are not of God, you can disrupt that. You can disrupt toxic cycles. You really can. And so, yeah, I think that's what a holy disruptor is. It's someone who looks at evil and sees someone for who they really are and says, like, you know, you might walk like a duck and talk like a duck, but doesn't mean you're a duck. You know, just because you know the scriptures and you go to church and you have a sweet family and you smile for the camera and you might have popularity, you might have money, you might have fame, you might have whatever. Actions speak louder than words, and your actions and words are not lining up. You can be a holy disruptor when things are completely just of chaos. It's not what God wants for your life.
Things done in the dark should not stay in the dark.
No, it should not. The light will definitely expose the darkness every single time. So, yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's brave. And I think it's hard what you're doing. It is, because I know that you're going to face critics, and I'm sure you have, who would say things like, oh, you're going to expose all this. Like, you're making this family look bad, or you make people think things, or But the truth is that things that are lies need to be confronted.
Right. I put on like my threads, I think today, that it's really sad if someone of faith is upset because the truth is out. There's a problem there. There's a huge problem with that. You know, if you just want to look happy and shiny all the time, and not really face reality and not really be genuine and be who God really truly wants someone to be, then you've got a heart issue. You're the one that has your ego problem. You're the one that, you know, has a lot of pride. And pride goes before a fall.
I want to read a quote from your book. You said, I am safe in God's presence. So are you. In moments when the fear of the unknown feels overwhelming, I hold on to God's promise that I am never alone. His presence is the one constant in my life, even in the midst of doubt and uncertainty. I feel his spirit within me, giving me the strength to keep moving forward, one step at a time.
Yeah.
What has your healing journey been like?
Oh, it's honestly, I'll be honest, at times, like when I first started to unravel all this, it was ugly.
Sure, of course.
I was like snarky. I was mad. I had a lot of anger. I didn't know what to do with that anger. I felt a lot of guilt. Like, is my family really this bad? Like, what am I doing? You know, I questioned, boundaries. I questioned if I was doing the right thing. I questioned, like, does God still love me if I have like a no contact with my family? Because I felt that family loyalty pull. You know, of just being like, no, we love you. Family is forever. Family is forever. But what I realized is family is chosen. Family can be chosen. It doesn't have to be from a direct bloodline. And yeah, I mean, I felt all the things. So it was very ugly at first. I felt very like out of really just vulnerable and like, what is going on? I don't know how to like deal with all these things. A lot of triggers
Yeah, of
that I have to
course.
work through. But now I can literally tell you that the fact that I can even have this conversation with you and talk about horrific things in such a way that is stable, you
Hmm.
know, and like we can actually have a like a healthy communication about it. Um, it just shows how far I've come.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a healing journey never stops, you
Hmm.
know. There are days that it's like, man, I wasn't invited to that. I hope they're doing well. You
Hmm.
know, man, you know, I see them on social media. I hope they're doing well, but
Yeah.
I don't know them anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a loss of family. It's a loss
Sure.
that will never go away,
Hmm.
you know. But at the same time, I'm going to protect my mental health. I'm going to
Hmm.
protect, you know, my little family, my
Hmm.
son,
Yeah,
um, and just keep moving forward.
absolutely. And you do maintain a relationship with who?
Jill.
Good.
Jill and I are so close. She's actually coming over tonight, which is so
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yes, yes. So Jill and I are very, very close, and I'm so appreciative of her and just our friendship. It's like a cousinship we've never really been able to have, and
Yeah,
so it's really, really great that we have it now.
I love that. I love that for you and for her. I want to end with these words that you had at the end of your book. It said, "May the same stillness Jesus spoke over the storm rest over you and me. Peace, be still." I just think that's beautiful. Amy, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for writing this book. And thank you for being a holy disruptor.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this so much. I appreciate you, and God bless you and what you're doing.
Thanks so much.